What's a skill you had as a child, but lost as an adult? More had as a toddler/young child, but I could understand Greek. My babysitter was Greek and didn't speak much English. My parents told me that she could give me instructions in Greek, and I do exactly what she wanted me to. I'm a little bummed that I didn't retain any of it. Edit. My dad said he thinks I could speak some too. He said I occasionally would say something that sounded like it could be in a different language. I'd take that with a grain of salt, because this is very early childhood, before preschool, so it could just been toddler gibberish. Dancing. By God, I could dance fairly well and would get in school breakdance competitions. But as I grew, I became shy and lost my ability to dance. Now I lost most of the shyness, but still can't dance. Being truly in the moment, without thinking about the past or future, just 100% into their present task. Being smart for my age. Falling asleep on the couch and magically waking up in my bed. Standing up, sitting down or crouching without making old man noises. Making friends. Flexibility. I could bend back enough that I could touch my feet with the back of my head, known as the king cobra. For whatever reason, I decided, back when I was about 9 years old, that I should learn how to perfectly mimic the voices of my family members. There were two major obstacles to this completely pointless goal. First of all, I couldn't practice while I was actually around the people I was teaching myself to imitate, which made getting some of the nuances a little bit difficult. That wasn't quite as frustrating as the second issue, though, which was the fact that my own voice hadn't dropped yet. As a result, whenever I tried to emulate my father, my grandfather, or my uncle, I'd wind up producing a vocal pitch that one might expect from a particularly well-spoken Muppet. When it came to sounding like my aunt or my grandmother, though, I was apparently pretty skilled. One day, during a rather large 4th of July party that my family was throwing, I excused myself from the main gathering to use the restroom. While sequestered in there, I put on a one-man show in the mirror, in which my female relatives were the main characters. Nothing particularly interesting was said, but it was still rather alarming for my eldest cousin, who had seen me enter the bathroom, alone, and then had suddenly overheard two women reenacting a conversation they'd gone through not half an hour earlier. I didn't actually find out that someone had been listening until after I rejoined the festivities, at which point my other aunt, whose voice I had not been imitating, asked me if I'd been mimicking her sister. After I confessed, my entire extended family gathered around and demanded an encore performance, which I eventually, and somewhat reluctantly, gave them. The end results included a round of uproarious laughter, a very brief moment of satisfaction for me, and a bunch of requests for me to say things in the style of my relatives, after which everyone got thoroughly sick of hearing me emulate them, and my father told me to stop. Years later, I asked him to stop doing something, and I used his voice to do it. Sadly, that newfound ability meant that I could no longer imitate my female family members. Too long didn't read. I can mimic the voices of my family members, but I can't impersonate the women anymore. When in school I always played with something, and when the teacher asked me did you listen to what I said, and then I go yes, she asked me the questions and I answer it. She always looked surprised like how could you play and listen at the same time. Well, I lost that power now. Being able to connect with people. Somewhere down the line I just stopped being able to actually make any real connections and now just kinda flowed through life. Being confident. All that energy. I used to walk for miles. Now I'm 30 with asthma and my body says no. Also the rate I used to devour books. Guitar playing is something you do not retain if not kept in practice. Middle school me could play whole songs on guitar and blow people away with it. Adult me picks up a guitar like well there's a G chord. It's like a cozy little house. And then you step outside with a C chord. And then it gets cloudy when you play in a minor. And then you strum a G chord and you're right back in the house. Making detailed sandcastles at the ocean beach. My sandcastles had turrets, windows, moats, towers, and drawbridges. Somehow, as a kid, I knew exactly where to make them so the sandcastles wouldn't get ruined by the incoming tide. climbing trees. My arms don't have the strength to pull my fat body off the ground, and even if they did I'd be out of breath by the time I reach the first branch, which would probably break under my weight anyway. Memory. Amateur Parker. I nearly break my ducking legs just remembering the shit I used to do 35 years ago. Being able to improvise and always have something to do. Now my days feel kinda empty. I used to be goodish at gymnastics. I could do front and back handsprings and walkovers, the splits, and various vaults. Now I'm made of muscle pain and bad joints, and my shoulder predicts the weather in the most painful way it knows how. Skateboarding the streets. I did it for 8 years daily, more than walking or standing without one. Alongside Early Burness Brigade and H Street, I haven't stepped on one since 30 years ago. I still watch skateboarding events, the fondness will never go away. I once sat outside a gift shop and cried until they gave me a toy for being cute. Nowadays I would probably go to jail. Being able to tell if a television computer screen was turned on just by hearing for the high-pitched background frequency. Lost it mostly because CRTs are extinct, but also because we lose those frequencies as we age. I could eat anything I wanted and not gain weight. Calculus. It took so much effort to learn it. Now that it's been 15 plus years since I used it, almost all of it has evaporated from my brain. I can still do simple derivatives and really simple integrals. That really bothers me. I was very good at drawing. Everyone in my family assumed I'd be an artist since I was a child. Eventually, however, I just lost the desire to do it. My pieces could take 20 to 40 hours and I just never felt like it. If I have that kind of time, I have many other hobbies I'd rather be doing. It's been about 10 years since I've completed a piece. Sometimes I feel sad and even guilty thinking about how good I could be today if I'd have stuck with it. Every once in a while I'll doodle on a restaurant receipt, draw a little something for a niece or nephew, or make a detailed sketch of some building project I'm about to start and get a "I didn't know you could draw" response from someone, which feels good, but it hasn't been enough to get me to sit down at the drawing desk, which I'm not sure why I still have.